Welcome back to another chapter of Message Crawler Video Manual. Today we're talking about name normalization. So what is name normalization? This is where you can go into Message Crawler, look at your text messages and find every variation of every name in your grid. Well, why would you have different variations of names? Sometimes you can collect data from multiple phones, different devices, computers, laptops, or just multiple phones. Or people could be using different emails. Somebody could be using work email, Gmail, Yahoo. And here you can find all the variations of those either phones or emails. And then, of course, you can correct them. You can create a new name that is consistent between multiple devices and emails. So why would you do that? One reason is for uniformity of review. It is easier to review when you have person's name and maybe their email address. In some cases, you could have just somebody's email address, which could be something cryptic like ABC1234, and you need to know it belongs to a certain person. The other reason you may want to clean up your names is for privilege log. Sometimes people don't want to include emails and phone numbers on the privilege log, they just want the name. And the biggest reason, in my opinion, is for generating conversations. Whenever you generate conversations in Message Crawler, you can use names to put together communications between multiple people. So whenever multiple parties are talking to each other, we are going to group them in the same conversation. But for that, names from different sites have to match, and then we'll be able to group all the messages together. So that is the biggest reason to reconcile your names, make sure each person has the same name or same alias, and then run the conversation generation tool to make sure the resulting conversations come out correct. Some other uses for this tool. Well, you don't have to use this on text messages. You can just use it on any DAT file, right? You can just take a saved search, export it out from Relativity, load it in, look at the different names, correct them, maybe create a report, or overlay them back into Relativity, right? So this is not limited to just working with text messages. You can work with any email data. All right, so what would be the typical workflow for using this tool? Well, you would load your DAT file, or you would load any data into Message Crawler, whichever way, whether it's a Slack or Google data or Bloomberg data. And then you would go into your name normalization tool, and you would select your fields that contain names. So it could be from, to, if you have CC, BCC, you can include them too. Next, you need to figure out what is your delimiter for multiple names. Now, usually it would be a semicolon, but some forensic software uses comma to delimitate names or multiple parties in a to field or in a CC field. So you want to make sure you put the correct character here. Otherwise, the software doesn't know how to separate the names. Then you can create and click list button, which will give you a table that shows original name and replace with name. Then you can go through that list and change your replace with to whatever name you actually want to appear. If you don't want to change the name, you don't need to put anything into replace with. It's only going to perform replacement where replace with row is populated. And then you click on replace names to update your grid view. Now, it's not actually going to replace those fields. It'll create new fields all the way on the right. So there is a before and after sort of snapshot. And then you can export that out to a DAT file to make a backup, or you can use the other fields for further work. So some of the additional features that are on the screen you just saw. First thing you should do is as you work, as you update this update to field, save your progress. There is a button exported to XML. So every once in a while, you want to save your work. This way, if software crashes, something happens, you walked away for lunch, and Windows Updates decides to install some Windows updates and everything is closed, well, you don't lose your work. You can export what you see, that grid, into a cross-reference file, so you have all the name variations. And there are also some automated tools to help you with phone extraction, which will extract everything inside the brackets. It'll extract the names before the brackets, or try to extract the phone numbers. So this is something just kind of help you get some uniform information from the fields. And I'm going to show you how that works because we are going to jump into the demo. All right, so here we have Message Crawler. And I will go into my data tools and select name normalization. going to slide it so we can actually see. I will select my from and to fields and click on create names list. And so here you see we have our different variations of a name. And you can see that we have this phone number and this are the same. So what we can do is we can unify these names, right? We can just bring this value over here, and this phone number will be replaced with a name and a phone number. And we can do same thing for others. So let me just do something that it's going to be obvious that we actually did it. Right, so I'm just going to update that and maybe some X and Y, right? And now I'm going to click replace names. And now you notice that it didn't close because it gives you another chance to save your profile. But we're going to close it because we don't need it. And so if I'm going to scroll to the right, you see that we have from normalized and to normalized, and we had from and to. So we corrected our from to be from with a name. So now for our name normalization, we can use these columns to do our further work. So let's see what else we can do here. I'm going to open this again. We're going to select from to, create names list, and let's take a look at some of the automated tools that can help you. So first, we can extract email, phone. So this is going to be the value inside these brackets. So if I click here, you see how it just pulls that out. Some values are blank. If you want them to be populated with existing values, you can copy original string to avoid blank, but that's not really necessary because the replace process will not work on anything that is blank. So you only need to update the rows that actually need to be updated. So let's clear that out and see what else we can do. So we can extract numbers. So this is going to look for just sequences of numbers. And if it finds like at least 6 numbers, it's going to put them in the replace with column. Again, those numbers may not be helpful when you're looking at your data, like just reviewing, but they could be helpful when you're generating conversations. So let's clear that out. And let's do one more. Let's do extract names. And so here you could see we have the actual names extracted without their phone numbers or emails. And this is where it is very helpful for a privilege log to have just names and no phone numbers or contact information. All right, that's it for this chapter of Message Crawler Video Manual. If you have any questions, comments, please contact me at nick@legal, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. All right, I will see you in the next chapter of Message Crawler Video Manual.